What's going on, guys? Thank you for tuning in. Ed here, and today I'm going to teach you guys how to have big nuts. That's actually what this video is about, and we're going to dive into it. But before we get started, as always, please leave a comment for the algorithm, subscribe, share this shit with your friends. This is very valuable information that we need to get out to the world. Keep everybody getting their gains, but do it healthy, all right? So, let's get into it. How do we keep our nuts from shrinking from TRT, steroids, from full blast and cruise, whatever, SARM cycle? Why do we want to keep them from shrinking? And how can we maintain, fertility while we're on TRT, on steroids, on SARMs, on whatever it may be? Let's get to it. Today we're going to talk about two different drugs in particular. It's going to be HCG and it's going to be Enclomiphene. These are the two of your best friends if you are a guy that is looking to get enhanced and dive into the world of steroids. You're going to want these two in your arsenal. So yeah, as we all know, when you take steroids, your body's natural testosterone production is going to shut down. When that happens, your nuts stop working. Your nuts are like a factory. They make testosterone, they make sperm. When your body has all this stuff coming in from the outside, it gets a signal to say, all right, we're getting all this good stuff. The nuts, they don't need to work hard anymore, so let's shut them down. So your nuts actually shrink up, they stop producing testosterone, they stop producing sperm, and then your body just runs off of all of that exogenous compounds that you are taking, whether you're injecting it or taking it orally, whatever. So, to combat that, we're going to look at HCG and Enclomiphene, and they both work in a different way to help keep your nuts firing. So, let's start with HCG. What actually is HCG? It stands for human chorionic gonadotropin. Fun little fact for you here. HCG, it's actually is what they check in a pregnancy test to see if women are pregnant. So it's a marker of women's fertility, but HCG can actually be prescribed to men to treat men's infertility issues as well, which is pretty neat. So it works by mimicking the effects of LH to stimulate testosterone production in your nuts. Now I'm going to throw up a little diagram here. Boom. And this diagram basically shows how your brain connects to your nuts to tell everything to work properly. So pretty much your hypothalamus is going to release a signal. It's going to release GnRH, gonadotropin releasing hormone, to your pituitary gland. The pituitary gland is in turn going to release two different hormones, either LH or FSH, which is luteinizing hormone and follicle stimulating hormone. Now those two are going to reach your nuts. The LH is going to tell your nuts to make testosterone, and the FSH is going to tell your nuts to make sperm. And then all of that loop is going to keep going as long as your body sees proper testosterone and estrogen levels, and everything is going to work fine. So when you take steroids, you mess up that loop. That loop gets completely screwed. Your body stops making sperm, stops making testosterone. So this is where HCG comes in. It mimics LH. So down the line, your pituitary releases LH and FSH. Well, when you're taking steroids, your pituitary is not actually releasing LH as it should. So your body gets this HCG, thinks it's LH, and then it causes your nuts to start making testosterone in your nuts, which is also what it needs to make sperm. So now your nuts are back at work. They are not going to be small and atrophied. They're going to return to normal size, and they're going to keep working to make testosterone and to make sperm. Awesome. That's why HCG is huge, guys. It's used to restore production of sperm and testosterone after a steroid cycle. It's used as a fertility treatment for guys on TRT. It's used to maintain nut size and fertility while you're blasting full steroid cycles, while you're cruising and blasting and doing all that shit. It's got a variety of uses, so HCG, that is going to be one of your saving graces if you want to keep your body functioning properly while you're on gear. Now, guys will run this all different ways. Some guys will run HCG throughout their entire steroid cycle. Some guys will add it in the last couple weeks. Some guys will use it as a bridge between their cycle and their PCT. Some will use it during the PCT. Some won't use it at all. Some will use it all year round. You got to do your research to decide how you want to use HCG. I would say a low dose all year round, a low enough effective dose to keep your nuts working properly. The only way you're going to know that it's working properly is through blood work. But there are a bunch of studies that show you don't need a huge amount of HCG to actually work. There's this one guy, go check him out, Dr. Lipschultz, I think his name is. He has a lot of studies. He's like the guy to go to for HCG and TRT. And there's actually one study here that said, boom, in patients who undergo TRT, intratesticular testosterone levels drop by 94%. So they almost drop all the way to zero. But if you take HCG, 250 IUs, looks like they did every other day, along with their TRT, their intratesticular testosterone only dropped 7%. So to drop 94% taking TRT, you add in a little HCG and then it only drops 7%. You're saving a lot of your testicular function there. They go one step further. They take 500 IUs of HCG every other day, and your intratesticular testosterone actually increases by 26% even while on TRT. So while you're on TRT, your nuts are supposed to shut down, but this HCG is actually telling your nuts to work overdrive. Boom. So your body is still producing its own testosterone. It's also producing sperm, so you remain fertile. Awesome. So like I said, dosage can range anywhere from 125 IUs 2 to 3 times a week, all the way up to 500 IUs 2 to 3 times a week. And you'll see doctors and TRT clinics prescribe even much more than that. I don't think that's like absolutely necessary unless you have something seriously wrong. Then you might need to look into those higher doses. But typically 125 to 500 IUs 2 to 3 times a week is going to be that sweet spot. Now let's move on to Enclomiphene. It is a SERM, a selective estrogen receptor modulator. As everybody knows, Clomid is a very popular PCT drug, the old Clomid and Nolvadex. Most people who are involved in steroids have used Clomid or Nolvadex at some point. Well, now we have Enclomiphene, and basically Clomid is actually a mixture of 2 different drugs. It is Zuclomiphene and Enclomiphene. And there's a lot of literature to suggest that most of the benefits from Clomid are due to the Enclomiphene isomer, where the Zuclomiphene actually contributes very little to the positive effects. It greatly increases the half-life of Clomid, so it's in your system much longer. And it also leads to a lot of the side effects that are associated with Clomid. Basically, all the bad side effects that you get, mostly from that Zuclomiphene isomer. So Enclomiphene is simply that one isomer. It does not have Zuclomiphene attached to it. That's the only way it differs from Clomid. So you get a lot of the benefits. You get all of the benefits, actually, without really many of the side effects. So it's a win-win. Enclomiphene, it's used as a PCT drug to kickstart your HPTA. It's sometimes used as a test base for SARMs or oral steroid cycles, and is very effective for that purpose. It can maintain your body's testosterone levels even while you're taking other shit and you don't have a test base. So you don't actually need to inject test all the time. If you want to run, say, like a heavy duty SARM cycle, or you want to try an oral only cycle, something like that, a lot of guys use Enclomiphene as their test base. It's also used as a fertility medication. It's becoming more and more common nowadays, actually, to see Enclomiphene be used in place of Clomid. There's a lot of TRT clinics that are actually making the switch and using Enclomiphene as a way to keep your testicles functioning and keep the fertility in check while you're on TRT. Now, doses for this are going to start anywhere from like 6 milligrams a few times a week, all the way up to 25 milligrams every day. Depending on your situation, your doctor might prescribe you much, much more than that if you need it. But if you don't need it, again, the only way to tell is with blood work. But a low dose of HCG and Enclomiphene together while you're blasting and cruising, while you're taking steroids, while you're on TRT, they're going to go a long way. Now, Enclomiphene acts a little bit different than HCG in how it jumps into the path here. So I'm going to throw this up again. Boom. There's your HPTA. Now, Enclomiphene is going to act right here. Here's another little diagram here. So basically your hypothalamus catches a signal of estrogen. That's how it kind of knows how much testosterone is in your body, because testosterone converts into estrogen. Your brain reads that amount of estrogen and it says, all right, do we need to make more tests or are we cool? Well, the Enclomiphene will actually block those receptors to trick your brain into thinking that you have low estrogen. And in having low estrogen, it thinks you have low testosterone. So it says, all right, we got to make more testosterone because we're not seeing any estrogen. That must mean we don't have any testosterone floating around. Let's make some more. So it's going to send the signal from the hypothalamus to the pituitary gland, and it's going to increase LH and FSH. So Enclomiphene will actually increase both of those. Whereas HCG is just an LH mimic, the Enclomiphene happens way back earlier in the loop. Your brain's going to signal to make more LH and FSH as a response to that. So the LH is going to go up. It's going to tell your Leydig cells in your nuts make more intratesticular testosterone. And it's going to tell your Sertoli cells in your nuts, oh, we see FSH, we got to make more sperm. So boom, Enclomiphene works to actually increase both. But when you pair it with HCG, the whole thing just becomes much more powerful and you will be able to maintain your fertility that much better. So, if you guys are worried about your nuts shrinking while you're on gear, just because you don't like having small nuts, I guess that's one reason, yeah, check out HCG and Enclomiphene. But if the real reason is you want to maintain your fertility because you're smart and you want to get big and huge and jacked, but you also want to have a family someday and you're being very proactive and taking your HCG and Enclomiphene because you're good and you're smart and you do your research, then kudos to you. Boom! I applaud you on your research. Now, these two compounds are pretty readily available from most sites that sell peptides or PCT drugs. You can find them a lot of the places, and they're not that expensive. So I would take the safe than sorry route and start using them if you're going to start using gear. All right? This was a good little overview. If you guys have any questions, drop them below, let me know, and I'll get them answered for you. So I hope this video helps. If it did, please leave a thumbs up and subscribe. Appreciate you guys. That's it. Ed out. Bye-bye.